Hey everybody, I'm Zach.
And I'm Jesse, and you're watching Elon's Tweets of the Week.
So many tweets this week that we had to move it over to a show again that's a separate show from Tesla Time News. Look, there's a lot of controversial stuff, a lot of topics on here that could trigger people. We're not going to talk about every single one of them. Obviously, there's just way too many this week. But we are going to be just showing you what Elon is thinking. And I think the important thing here is this. It takes us hours to go through Elon's thread this past couple weeks. That means that most people in the world are not doing that. So when they hear about some tweet that someone plucked out and put out of context, it's easy to say whatever you want to say about it. When we put things back in context into his thread, at least you might get a sense of where his mind really is at. And that is the kind of the goal of this show. So that if you're like, why are you covering that tweet or whatever, it's to give context, okay?
So buckle up. Here we go.
Kenekoa Substack said, number one, David Sachs breaks down how the safety layer of ChatGPT is a Democrat. There's mounting evidence OpenAI's safety layer is very biased. If you thought trust and safety were bad under Vieja or Yoel, wait until the AI does it. And Elon said, it's a very important thread, major problem. So we've talked about how there's a safety layer on top of the AI layer, and that is written by humans, and it seems to be very biased at the moment.
And I mean, Elon didn't say anything specifically as to whether, I mean, he's saying that the bias is worrying.
Right, exactly.
I mean, I think that the bias is kind of the problem that like in all of the AI stories, it's the bias that they pre-put into the AI that is like what causes the world to end.
Exactly. David Dad says a GTP instance is not a moral patient because it doesn't actually maintain any continuity of memory between sessions.
And then Elon says the internet is its memory. Okay.
Wyvert published this, The Great Decarceration. Most people are unaware that incarceration rates have fallen a lot in recent years. The black incarceration rate fell by 35% between 2006 and 2018. Went on to say, meanwhile, a recent survey found that most people think that incarceration rates have increased, not decreased dramatically. The Great Decarceration should be more widely known. It might help explain the increase in crime.
Elon said, I was one of those who incorrectly thought incarceration rates had increased. Such a big decrease is surprising to learn.
World of Engineering says the first air conditioner was used not for personal comfort, but to remedy high humidity that interfered with the printing process. I wonder if that's how they ended up being called air conditioners instead of air coolers.
Elon said, an ideal air conditioner should optimize temperature and humidity while filtering out particulate and pathogens.
Very important tweet here. It's one of those that gets overlooked while they're looking for the more, bombastic tweets. This, I think, points to Tesla someday getting into HVAC. Massimo tweeted this, the Eye of Sauron. What you're looking at is a top-down view of a lava river rushing down a hill in Iceland. And yes, this is the actual speed at which it was flowing, actual liquid rock at 1250 degrees Celsius. And again, I love that this is what Elon's seeing this week, so that's what's on his mind. Doge Designer says, community notes is one of the best features of Twitter. I've seen various propaganda, myths, misinformation, rumors, and even crypto scams getting busted, Elon. The Rabbit Hole says, real talk though, why are so many Marxists from cushy rich backgrounds?
Elon says, Marx was a trust fund kid.
Massimo says, tonight while you sleep, you'll be kind of brainwashed. Blood will flow out of your head. A watery liquid called cerebrospinal fluid will flow in, washing through your brain in rhythmic pulsing waves.
Elon says, taking out the trash.
Trung Fan says, wild stat, tweets from BTS band members accounts for 17 of the 30 most liked tweets ever.
Elon said the Macaulay Culkin tweet was fire.
And he was talking about how he turned 40. Elon says, worth reading, and that's the new Tim Urban book called What's Our Problem? And I've begun reading it myself. It is very good. Elon said, say what you want about me, but I acquired the world's largest nonprofit for $44 billion. Laugh out loud.
Derek Smart says, right, now open source it, then we'll be truly impressed.
He said, prepare to be disappointed at first when our algorithm is made open source next week, but it will improve rapidly. Alex says, when Reuters reports content days sometimes a week after I tweeted it or published it in the newsletter, what is our mainstream media worth?
Elon replied, said, I keep getting deja vu from the news thinking, wait, that happened again? But actually, it's just delayed reporting.
Martin Bard says how ancient Roman bridges were built. And this is just a cool, look, you could have showed this to me in high school or whatever, and it would have saved like 30 days of teaching me, because like just one video, I'm like, oh, now I get it.
And if you showed me this in high school, I might have actually been paying attention in class.
Elon said the main reason Rome won was because they had the best engineering. Wall Street Silver says Rolling Stone does it again with this crazy headline, why cancel culture is good for democracy.
Elon said, how blatantly obnoxious that they just want to keep canceling people. Do they ever write about music anymore? They should rename themselves Scolding Stone, as all they seem to do these days is holier than thou nagging.
Sam put out this meme, trust no one, Iceland, Greenland.
Elon said a crystal clear lesson that product is better than marketing in the long run.
Tesla Economics says, is there something wrong putting millions of dollars behind this man? I don't know why so many people are always telling me I'm foolish to do this, because in my eyes, I see the future and potential through him and his companies.
Elon said this kid is definitely going to love trolling.
Americans for Public Trust says, new left-wing billionaire Pierre Omidyar bankrolls the shadowy group pushing a corporate boycott of Twitter.
Elon said, any truth to this, Omidyar?
Zuby says humans are addicted to doomsday narratives. I've noticed that sometimes people want things to be worse than they are, so their neuroticism and paranoia will be vindicated.
Elon said, bullseye. I think it's because people want to do physical things. And they're like, well, if I didn't have to go to my job, I could be doing actual things with my hands. Well, but I can't possibly just quit my job and do that. So I have to wait for the world to end. That's how I can do it.
It is true. It can be fun when
You're
the
like,
zombies are...
and then I could have a spear. That'll be great.
Wall Street Silver says it feels like every day we're inching closer to World War III, and neither side seems to even want to discuss negotiations.
Elon says the stakes are high.
Anyone against critical thinking cannot be regarded with any credibility at all. I like that. That should be over the doors to most schools. Wall Street Silver says the Biden administration is preparing to sign up the United States to a legally binding accord with the World Health Organization that would give this Geneva-based UN subsidiary the authority to dictate America's policies during a pandemic. Is this real? Can states do this?
Elon says this is not good.
Elbridge Colby says, Navy Secretary, they have 13 shipyards. In some cases, their shipyard has more capacity. One shipyard has more capacity than all of our shipyards combined. That presents a real threat.
Of great strategic significance.
He's talking about Chinese shipyards. John Arnold says, how in the world does McKinsey have 45,000 employees? And that is a worldwide consulting group.
And Elon says, my thought exactly. Wow.
Talk about being replaced by AIs.
45,000 people.
Zach Ware says, Zoom's killer feature is making you look 100 times better on camera than Google Meet. Google Meet is the airplane bathroom mirror of meeting apps.
I haven't noticed that at all. Well, this is how we Zoom with people, so I don't think it matters.
Galley says, my biggest concern with Tesla isn't adding someone new to the board. It's making sure we give back Elon complete control of the company, new voting stock chairman, etc. If we let a rule by committee happen, it will be the start of Tesla's downfall.
Elon said, in a rapidly changing technology landscape, conventional wisdom fails.
And then he put out a chart here of U.S. light vehicle sales 2022 versus 2021. That is the growth of Tesla and pretty much the loss of every other company.
What about Genesis?
Oh, you mean the band?
No.
Christopher Rufo says Biden's new executive order creating a national DEI bureaucracy has a special mandate for woke AI. The order instructs the federal government to protect the public from algorithmic discrimination and to deploy AI systems in a manner that advances equity.
Elon said that would be a major restructuring of the federal government, which requires an act of Congress. An executive order is not sufficient.
And then he put out this meme. People always ask where is Illuminati, but they never ask how is Illuminati. And then Kristen put out this meme. I didn't have enough money to build a stone fence, so I got the Freemasons to build it.
Elon says doing all that masonry for free was not a sustainable business model. That's a joke.
Yeah, it's the dad mode that he goes into sometimes. Homar's catalog says, I can't wait to see people's stunned reactions as Cybertruck climbs the sales charts.
Elon says ramping production, as always, will be the challenge, not demand.
And then a quote from Elon. He has said before that the Foundation series by Isaac Asimov is a book recommendation. Then he went on to say, had a major influence on me. And then he retweeted pictures of the Falcon 9 and Dragon rolling out of the hangar at Launch Complex 39A. And then Crew 6 being completed for a full rehearsal of launch day activities. And it looks like they scrubbed that mission, unfortunately.
Yeah, so March 2nd looks like the next launch date.
And then that quote that we talked about today, as Elon got on stage at the new Palo Alto headquarters, engineering headquarters, he said, we specialize in making the impossible merely late. And he said, yeah. Zuby says, when will everybody admit that the whole COVID-19 pandemic response was a scam?
Elon says it's coming.
Farzad says, might be too early in saying this, but it really does seem like Elon is playing both sides of the political aisle really well as of late. Right-wing rhetoric with freedom of speech and Twitter, left-wing with Supercharger networks and EVs, and Cali headquarters. Interesting, Tesla. Impossible, there's only two sides in this political spectrum. 50% of America doesn't exist.
Elon says at least half, but probably more like 80% is centrist or at least apolitical. But most of that remaining 20% is on this platform, LOL.
The rabbit hole says humans have identified themselves throughout history by villages, countries, religion, race, etc. The final step in this journey will be for us to identify as human foremost and all else second. This will be necessary when we inevitably make first contact with aliens.
And Elon give a heart to that tweet.
Peter Diamantis from MIT says, I've stopped watching TV news. They couldn't pay me enough money.
Elon said, yeah.
David Sachs says, during the Cold War, the U.S. made an effort to keep Russia and China divided, despite both being murderous communist regimes. Now we're pushing them closer together as a result of Biden's war on autocracy. This is dangerous and foolish.
Elon says, a Russia-China alliance is inevitable. It will grow much stronger over time.
These are the kind of tweets, again, that don't get much press. And then he tweeted out this space elevator, which you can press the space button or the Earth button, or somewhere in between. And it's on launch day. When the crew members arrive at the pad, they'll ride the tower elevator to the access arm and board Dragon for their flight to space, and this is what they'll see. Google Photos tweeted out, starting to roll out today, Google One members on Android and iOS will be able to enjoy Magic Eraser, a new HDR video effect, free shipping on select print store orders, and more, so you can easily perfect all of your memories in Google Photos.
Elon said Stalin would have loved this feature.
Science Girl says the way that Shoebill Stork stands motionless in the rain.
Elon says Stoic score 10 out of 10.
Elon says, I have unblocked everyone I blocked apart from scammers. I recommend others do the same. Negative feedback is a good thing. And then Shibatoshi Nakamoto tweeted out how many blocked accounts he had, 186,000. Yeah, it takes time on Twitter to block the accounts. Ralph Nader, who I once respected, said Musk started Tesla with a huge U.S. government welfare grant. He has taken taxpayers to the cleaners for his factories, and for Starlink, he is a gigantic corporate welfare king masquerading as a capitalist businessman.
And Elon responded, he says, Ralph Nader, you are lying. Shame on you. I personally provided almost all Tesla funding based on my proceeds from PayPal, from Series A in 2004 until Series C in 2007.
And you can read the rest of the post, but basically, yeah, I don't know where Ralph Nader's getting his information. Ian says, what is the biggest impediment to world peace at the moment?
And Shibatoshi Nakamoto said people.
And Elon said bullseye. And just another day at the office. Wow, that'd be fun to work there, huh? And then Elon retweeted this picture of Dragon on the launch pad. Is it launching? It didn't launch.
No, they scrubbed it, but they still have to fill it full of fuel because if you...
Oh, okay.
You can't, it takes time to load it full of fuel. So you load it full of fuel, and then you're like, are we ready to go? No. And then you have to take the fuel back out of it.
Here's size comparison between an Airbus A380 and the Boeing 737.
Elon replied, A380 looks like it already ate a few 737s.
The rabbit hole says, what the hell is wrong with Canada?
And it was about this article. Interestingly enough, when I checked it out on Twitter, Community Notes, kind of corrected it, and it was basically because the kid was suspended and then went back to school. That's why they were arrested.
Right. He wasn't allowed to go back to school, though.
Right. But then he did, and that's why he was arrested, because you can't go back to school if you're suspended. Elon said kids were put in jail for this, and so do with that with what you may. But the article headline was misleading. It was nice, though, that Community Notes at least was like, if you read the article, this is what you'd go, oh, well, that's why, kind of thing.
Kenakoa Substack says, David Sachs talks about Donald Trump's criticism of Victoria Nuland's involvement in the ousting of Ukraine's democratically elected government in 2014. Nuland is the Fauci of the situation in the same way that Fauci was supposed to be protecting us from viruses. And Elon says, accurate assessment by David Sachs. Yeah, you can check that out on this week's All In podcast. Post Gateway said, Breaking Bad Roleplay Club. By the way, don't be Walter. I'm already Walter. Elon tweeted out this meme. About clickbait.
Yeah.
And then Scott Adams had a lot of people are calling it a racist rant. It is racist to avoid racists who are the same race as each other, or is it only racist if the racists you're avoiding are white? And Elon said, simultaneously an interesting question and a tongue twister.
That means that he's racist because he commented on a tweet about racism that people thought were racist. So therefore, Elon racist, I think, right? Is that the math?
I don't know. Then Elon responded to some COVID tweets. Bill Mayer says, if you're part of today's woke revolution, you need to study the part of revolutions where they spin out of control. And he's talking about Maoist China. And Elon said, now is the time to fight the anti-human woke mind virus with everything. He went on to say, Inflation Reduction Act, IRA versus Irish Republican Army, IRA.
Thank you. Everyone, I've been thinking it the whole time. Okay. I've been thinking it the whole time. And I'm just glad that he came out and said it.
Yeah, Roth IRA versus Wrath IRA. But which is actually harder, defeating inflation or defeating the British? And when I go to the bathroom and forget my phone. Elon said, deep fakes are getting so good, I can't tell if this is real. And then this meme, laughing at World War III memes, kind of being worried about World War III. Just putting both in your cup. Tesla owner Silicon Valley says CGI in real world looking even better than the original prototype, Elon.
Elon says, doesn't seem real even when you're standing right next to it.
Gergovin says, Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway now has over $128 billion in cash. What stock should they buy?
Elon says, starts with a T.
Munger could have invested in Tesla at about a $200 million valuation when I had lunch with him in late 2008. Kicking yourself. Stay with me here. Mark Andreessen says the logic holds. Humanity is only worth annihilating by an AGI if it can't be aligned well enough to be useful to it. Therefore, I propose that EA direct research towards making humanity more easily manipulable by superintelligences to reduce the risk. Elon tweeted this out.
And so, if you've watched our Patreon bonus story, we give you a little more explanation on this.
And then Eva Fox tweeted out this meme showing that Elon's sense of humor does fan the flames of people who are easily offended. And he said 100%. Why can't witchcraft defeat inflation? And he tweeted out this meme, energy equals milk times coffee squared. Richard said, in agreement with Buffett, may he live forever. And Elon said, there should be more productive innovation at his companies, to be honest. Yeah, stock buybacks don't get you that. Elon said, when you find out the other Coke Bear got his own movie. Rewatching Step Brothers, so good. Yeah, I did that a few months ago. It is so good. And then Woody Harrelson had the monologue on SNL this week.
The biggest drug cartels buy up all the media and all the politicians and force all the people in the world to stay locked in their homes.
And Elon said, so based, nice work. And then Kaneko Substack said, Woody Harrelson, the biggest drug cartels in the world get together and buy up all the media. And then look what happens to headlines. Bullseye. They already started. Maybe they don't realize their propaganda is wrong. Science is Strategic says gas and wheat prices are back pre-Ukraine war levels. And Elon said, interesting. Matt Wallace said, crazy to think this kid became the richest man on earth. Elon Musk has a wild story.
Elon says, back when I was roughly $100,000 negative with student debt.
See, you can recover from it. Some people. Monitoring Bias says Adams was horrified that a poll of black people showed only half believe it's okay to be white. He called this hate and recommended white people live far away from blacks. MSM verdict, Adams is a racist, but not the 20 million black people who think it's okay not to be white.
Elon said the media is racist, and then he went on to say for a very long time, U.S. media was racist against non-white people. Now they're racist against whites and Asians. Same thing happened with elite colleges and high schools in America. Maybe they can try not being racist.
David Sachs tweeted out the Wall Street Journal article about COVID came from a lab. And he said why this story is so important. It shows, one, unelected government officials have huge power to pursue dangerous agendas. Two, rather than holding them accountable, corporate media cover for them. And number three, tech censorship ends up promoting rather than suppressing disinformation.
Elon says, accurate.
The Rabbit Hole says race relations between blacks and whites have gotten some extra attention due to comments from Scott Adams. We can see the inflection point in the attached graph and observe race relations crashed in the 2010s. I hope this trend can be reversed. Ask and you shall receive. And this is showing that the word racist or racism was used more and more in the media. And Elon said, interesting. Monitoring Bias says, just how bad is the bias in the media in favor of its own oppression narratives? This chart quantifies some of it. Unarmed white victims of police violence get only a tiny fraction of the news coverage that black ones do, maybe about 2 to 3% as much.
Elon says, very disproportionate to promote a false narrative.
Chris Ferguson says, Adams' comments weren't good, but there's an element of truth to this. It's complicated. Mainly, we've leaned into identity with predictable results, and power today is complicated. We were on the right path with colorblindness and need to return to it.
Elon said, exactly.
So again, does that sound racist to you? It doesn't to me. The tension of the New York Times caused by its young activist staffers made news this week. This remarkable document transcription of leaked audio from a town hall meeting at the paper in August of 2019 is the moment that the activists began to push the train off the rails.
Elon said, unfortunately, the elite colleges are teaching them this.
Then Elon retweeted SpaceX's tweet. We call them V2 minis. They represent a step forward in Starlink capability. Among other enhancement, V2 minis are equipped with new Argon Hall thrusters for on-orbit maneuvering. What does that mean?
These are little thrusters with a very high ISP. For those of you who haven't gotten the new Kerbal Space program, you don't know what I'm talking about. But it would basically help them change their orbit if they need to.
On Sunday, Elon said, having a bit of an AI existential angst day. Monitoring Bias says the political discourse in America would improve measurably if only Americans sought out statistical data rather than outlier anecdotal data to inform their views. This issue below is almost entirely why people think police murder, white on black, and black on white crime, high school brawls, etc. are epidemic problems. We're all watching the same one viral video that drops about daily.
Elon says, absolutely.
And then the scrubbed launch of NASA tomorrow night, who's unfortunately scrubbed. The rabbit hole says, if we use Twitter networks to gauge politics, then a large number of journalists are to the left of Bernie Sanders. And he published this chart.
Elon said, wow.
How Things Work tweeted out, this is how pretzels are made.
Elon said, damn, that machine makes a lot of pretzels.
Unusual Whale says, breaking, the U.S. Energy Department has concluded that the COVID pandemic most likely arose from a laboratory leak.
Elon said, what? No way.
Ethan Mollick says, Bing AI is proving very helpful for reasons too complicated to get into right now, but which involved a time machine. This is, they asked the chat GTP how to get out of Apollo 13, the problem they had, and the answer it gave, actually, Elon said,
this answer is wrong. All fuel on CM is hypergolic, so dumping would prevent deorbit burn in atmospheric entry control. So,
nerd alert.
Uh-oh.
Fascinating says, the size of a toucan's beak compared to its skull.
And Elon responded to that one.
Babylon B says, Ohio area turtles develop sudden interest in pizza and martial arts. It's a Palestine, Ohio joke, yeah.
Yeah.
Watcher Guru says, Gen Z and millennials need $3 million in retirement savings to live comfortably due to inflation, wealthcare, financial reports. Shibatoshi Nakamoto says, that's it? I assume Social Security will be dead by the time I think about retiring. Hopefully the robot overlords will be doing all the necessary work by then, though.
Elon said, there will be a lot of robots.
Fascinating says the leaves of the Cucaboa gigantifolia can grow up to 8 feet.
Elon says, what if that's just a tiny person?
Kaneko Substack says Dr. Anthony Fauci funded gain of function research at the Wuhan lab, lied to Congress about it, and now both the FBI and the Department of Energy have concluded that the coronavirus originated at the Wuhan lab. Does that mean Dr. Anthony Fauci funded the development of COVID-19?
Elon says he did it via a pass-through organization, EcoHealth.
And there's sunset at the pad. Hope you all have a good Sunday, first day of the rest of your life. And that's how we'll wrap up.
Oh, whew, wow.
Long tweet week there. But hopefully it puts it into some context. So when you're seeing these stories that are like, Elon says this, or Elon's a racist, at least maybe you'll get a little better understanding. And this is, look, it would have taken me probably the entire week to go through his tweets if I had really read deeply into the replies. It took maybe, 3 or 4 hours just to do that. And so what I'm saying is most of us just, we don't have the time for that. And so we're getting his tweets delivered to us from the mainstream press out of context. And if you do that with any of your tweets out of context, I bet I could say you're a bunch of things. So I'm just saying that's why we do the show, so you can see where Elon's head is at every week.
We'll see you next time.
Now you know.